The illusion of victory. The night sky above Lumina Prime shimmered with bioluminescent fireworks, casting ethereal patterns of blue and silver across the crystalline spires of the capital city. The air vibrated with jubilant songs as millions of Vesperi flooded the streets, their translucent wings catching the light in a dazzling display. After 3 centuries of brutal occupation under the Draxian Empire, freedom had finally come. The Vesperi, a species evolved from insectoid ancestors, but now standing upright on 2 legs with 4 nimble arms, had developed a society built on harmony, scientific advancement, and spiritual connection to their world. The Draxians, reptilian conquerors with technology far beyond anything the Vesperi possessed, had arrived without warning, decimating their defense systems and establishing dominion over Lumina Prime and its 16 colony worlds. That was until today. The Draxian Central Command has fallen. The neural network controlling their war machines has been neutralized. The oppressors are defeated. The announcement repeated on every communication channel, each declaration met with renewed celebration. Yet not everyone shared in the revelry. High above the city in the Council Observatory, Chief Strategist Nyx stood motionless before a panoramic window, her slender frame silhouetted against the cityscape below. Unlike the celebrants, her 4 arms remained crossed tightly against her chest, and her wings, a deeper blue than most, lay flat against her back. "You should join the celebrations, Nyx," came a gravelly voice from behind her. "After all, it was your strategy that identified the Draxian neural network vulnerability." Nyx didn't turn to acknowledge Prime Minister Vela, the aging statesman who had led the resistance from the shadows for decades. "Something doesn't feel right, Minister." "You always say that," Vela chuckled, moving to stand beside her. His once brilliant wings had dulled with age, but his eyes remained sharp, "even when we succeed." "Especially when we succeed," Nyx replied. The Draxians didn't simply give up. Their ships retreated in perfect formation. That's not the behavior of a defeated force. Vela sighed. The neural network was their strength and their weakness. Without it, their technology is useless. "We've won, Nyx." "Then why did we detect unusual energy signatures at the edge of our system just before their retreat? Why?" An urgent chime interrupted her, followed by the voice of Observatory Director Rigel. "Chief Strategist, Prime Minister, we're detecting something unusual. You should see this immediately." Minutes later, they stood in the observatory's central chamber, surrounded by holographic projections of space. Rigel, a younger Vesperi with nervous movements, manipulated the display with precise gestures of his 4 hands. "Here," he said, pointing to a sector beyond their solar system. "We detected these signals approximately 18 standard hours ago, but they were masked by the final battle with the Draxians." Nyx studied the readings, her antennae twitching with concentration. "These aren't Draxian signatures. The wave patterns are completely different. More organic, somehow." "Could it be another species from the Concordance?" Vela asked, referring to the loose alliance of known civilized species in their sector. "No," Rigel replied, his voice dropping. "We've run comparisons against all known signatures. This is something new. Something alien to our records." "Direction," Nyx demanded. "They're coming from the direction of the Scarlet Nebula, the unexplored region," Rigel answered. "And they're approaching at significant speed." Nyx felt the familiar chill of dread crawl up her spine. "We need to reactivate the orbital defense grid immediately." Vela balked. "After announcing our victory, you want to tell our people to prepare for another threat?" "Better cautious than conquered," Nyx shot back. "I want reconnaissance drones dispatched to intercept and observe. No engagement unless authorized." The Prime Minister hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Proceed, but with discretion. Let our people have this moment of peace before we burden them with new fears." 3 cycles later, Nyx stood in the same room, but now surrounded by the full Emergency Council, 12 of Lumina's highest authorities, their wings twitching with anxiety as they watched footage from the reconnaissance drones. The unknown vessel was unlike anything they'd seen before. Where Draxian ships were angular and metallic, this craft seemed to blend mechanical and biological elements seamlessly. It was smaller than a Draxian warship, but moved with a grace that suggested advanced propulsion systems. It's changed course, Defense Minister Castor noted. It's now heading directly toward Lumina Prime. Have they detected our drones? Vila asked. Impossible to determine, Rigel replied. But they've made no aggressive movements. Nix studied the vessel's movements carefully. They're being deliberate. This is an approach vector designed to appear non-threatening, a first contact protocol. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They're trying to establish communication, Nix continued. They must have detected our battle with the Draxians and decided to investigate. Or exploit our vulnerability, Castor countered. Before the debate could continue, Rigel's console chimed. We're receiving a transmission from the vessel, audio and visual. Display it, Vela commanded. The holographic projection shifted, and a figure appeared that caused every Vesperi in the room to inhale sharply. The being stood upright like them, but had only 2 arms, no wings, and skin that appeared smooth and varied in color from pale beige to deep brown. Its head featured a mane of filaments in various colors and lengths. Greetings, people of Lumina Prime, the figure spoke, its mouth moving strangely. I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace and seek diplomatic contact with your civilization. How do they know our language? Castor whispered incredulously. They must have been monitoring our communications, Nix replied, her mind racing through implications. Possibly for some time. Vela stepped forward, his posture straightening in the formal stance of diplomatic greeting. I am Prime Minister Vela of the Vesperi Collective. Your arrival is unexpected. What brings you to our system, Captain Reyes? The being, this human, smiled, revealing white teeth. We've been exploring this sector for scientific purposes when we detected your conflict with the Draxian Empire. We thought you might appreciate knowing you're not alone in resisting their expansion. Nix felt her pulse quicken. You know of the Draxians. We've had our own encounters with them at the edges of our territory, Captain Reyes replied. They attempted to subjugate one of our colony worlds 2 Earth years ago. It did not end well for them. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. Another species that had successfully fought the Draxians. It seemed impossible. We would like to propose a diplomatic meeting. Rice continued. With your permission, we'd like to send a small delegation to discuss matters of mutual concern, including the Draxian threat. After heated debate, permission was granted for a heavily guarded landing at the capital spaceport. Nix insisted on leading the security detail herself, against Vela's objections. I trust your judgment, the Prime Minister conceded. But remember, if these humans have indeed fought the Draxians successfully, they could be valuable allies. The human shuttle was elegant and compact, descending through Lumina's atmosphere with barely a sound. It landed precisely on the designated platform, surrounded by Vesperi security forces. When the hatch opened, 5 humans emerged. Captain Rice led them, accompanied by 3 other uniformed individuals, and one wearing different attire that Nix guessed denoted some specialized function. Welcome to Lumina Prime, Nix said formally, offering the traditional greeting gesture with her upper right arm. I am Chief Strategist Nix. Captain Reyes mimicked the gesture surprisingly well. Thank you for your hospitality, Chief Strategist. May I introduce Science Officer Park, Security Chief Okafor, Communications Specialist Singh, and Ambassador Rodriguez. The delegation was escorted to the Grand Council Hall, where the full governing body awaited. Along the way, Nix observed the humans carefully. They moved differently than Vesperi, more solid and grounded without wings to balance, but their eyes constantly scanned their surroundings with an intelligence that matched any of her species. After ceremonial introductions, Ambassador Rodriguez addressed the council. People of Lumina Prime, I bring greetings from Earth and her colonies. Our species has only recently begun exploring this sector of space, but we've already encountered the Draxian Empire several times. We understand you've just achieved a significant victory against them, and we congratulate you." Prime Minister Vela nodded appreciatively. "Your timing is fortuitous. Perhaps you can tell us more about your experiences with the Draxians." Rodriguez's expression grew somber. The Draxians attacked one of our outlying colonies without provocation. They assumed, as they seem to with all species, that their technology gave them an insurmountable advantage. They were mistaken. "How?" Nix asked bluntly. "Their neural network controls war machines that devastated our forces for centuries." Science Officer Park stepped forward. "That was precisely their vulnerability. Our cybersecurity specialists identified the network's quantum entanglement frequency and developed a cascading virus that corrupted their command protocols. We shared this information through subspace channels, broadcasting it widely so any species facing Draxian oppression might use it." Nix felt her wings vibrate with shock. "You're saying our victory was enabled by technology we developed and shared?" Rodriguez confirmed, "though the courage to implement it was entirely your own." The revelation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. Their great victory, attributed to Vesperi ingenuity and sacrifice, had been assisted by an unknown species sharing technology freely. Some council members reacted with gratitude, others with suspicion. Defense Minister Castor rose from his seat, wings flaring. "How convenient that you appear immediately after our supposed victory, with claims of having facilitated it. How do we know you're not simply trying to infiltrate our society while we're vulnerable?" Rodriguez remained calm. "We have no intention of interfering with your sovereignty. Earth has a strict policy of non-interference with developing civilizations. We broke that protocol only because the Draxian threat represented an existential danger to multiple species." "Then why come forward now?" Nix asked, her tactical mind still searching for hidden motives. Captain Rice answered this time, her voice grave. "Because the Draxians aren't truly defeated. What you witnessed was a tactical retreat. Our intelligence suggests they're regrouping at their core worlds, developing technology that won't be vulnerable to the same countermeasures." Silence fell across the chamber, the recent celebrations suddenly feeling hollow. "How long do we have?" Vela asked quietly. "Months, perhaps a year," Rice replied. "Which is why we're proposing an alliance. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before and survived. We've developed technologies and strategies that complement your own strengths. Together, we believe we can end the Draxian threat permanently." As the council erupted into heated discussion, Nix found herself studying the humans more carefully. They were physically unimposing compared to the Draxians, lacking the natural armor and strength of the reptilian conquerors. Yet something about their confidence suggested depths of resilience she couldn't yet fathom. "What happened to your world?" she asked Reyes quietly while the council debated. "You mentioned extinction-level threats." A shadow passed over the captain's face. "Earth has endured much: climate catastrophes, resource wars, a period we call the Dark Decades when it seemed we might destroy ourselves. Then came the coalescence, when the surviving factions united under the understanding that we needed to preserve our world and expand beyond it simultaneously. And now you explore space." "We explore, we learn, we adapt," Rise replied. "It's what humans do best. When the Draxians encountered us, they assumed our biological limitations would make us easy to conquer. They didn't understand that those very limitations drove us to compensate with technology and strategy. We don't have natural armor, so we created better shields. We don't have multiple limbs, so we built interfaces that respond to thought. We turned every disadvantage into an advantage." The council session ended with a tentative agreement to continue diplomatic discussions, but no formal alliance was established. The Vesperi remained deeply divided, some seeing the humans as potential saviors, others as a new threat replacing the old one. As the human delegation departed for their temporary quarters, Nix approached Prime Minister Vela. "Your thoughts, Minister." Vela's ancient eyes followed the humans as they left. I think our celebration of victory was premature. And I think these humans represent either our salvation or our downfall. I'm not yet certain which. And if they're telling the truth about the Draxians regrouping, then our brief taste of freedom may be just that. Brief. Vela sighed, his wings drooping slightly. Continue your assessment of our visitors, Nyx. Learn everything you can about these humans and their capabilities. The future of our species may depend on it. As night fell once more on Lumina Prime, the celebrations continued, though with diminishing energy as rumors of the strange visitors spread. Standing on her private balcony, Nyx watched the distant lights of the human vessel orbiting their world, a tiny star moving against the backdrop of the cosmos. The victory they'd cherished had been revealed as incomplete at best, illusory at worst. Now they faced a choice between trusting these mysterious humans or facing the returning Draxian forces alone. Either way, nothing would ever be the same again. The human factor. 3 weeks had passed since the humans' arrival, and Lumina Prime simmered with tension. The initial celebrations of victory had given way to an uneasy quiet as rumors spread about the Draxians' potential return. Public spaces once filled with jubilant Vesperi now hosted heated debates about the human visitors and their intentions. Chief strategist Nyx had spent every waking hour either observing the human delegation or analyzing data from their ship. Despite her initial suspicion, she found herself reluctantly impressed by their transparency. The humans had freely shared information about their technology, their history, and their previous encounters with the Draxians, all of which her intelligence team had verified as consistent. They appear to be exactly what they claim, she reported to the Emergency Council, which now met daily. Explorers from a species that survived multiple existential threats and developed remarkably adaptive technology as a result. Defense Minister Castor remained unconvinced, or they're exceptionally skilled deceivers. The timing of their arrival is too convenient. Their timing makes perfect sense if they were monitoring Draxian communications, Nyx countered. They waited until we deployed their countermeasure against the neural network, then approached once the immediate threat had passed. Prime Minister Vela raised his hand for silence. What of their claim that the Draxians are regrouping? Have we confirmed this? Nyx activated a holographic display showing recent long-range scans. Our surveillance drones have detected unusual activity at the edge of the Signar system. It appears the Draxian fleet has indeed consolidated there, not scattered as we initially believed. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. How long until they could mount another offensive? Vela asked quietly. Based on their current rate of technological adaptation and fleet movements, Nyx replied, 2 months, perhaps less. And our defenses? Insufficient, Nyx admitted. Without the vulnerability in their neural network, we lack the means to counter a full-scale invasion. Science Minister Lyra, who had been unusually quiet throughout the proceedings, finally spoke. The humans have offered us access to their defensive technology. After analyzing their specifications, I believe their shielding systems alone would increase our survivability by 60%. At what cost? Castor demanded. What do these humans want in return? An alliance, came a voice from the chamber entrance. Captain Alina Reyes stood there, flanked by Ambassador Rodriguez and 2 Vesperi guards who looked apologetic for the interruption. Forgive the intrusion, but time is of the essence. Vela gestured for them to approach. You were expected an hour from now, Captain. Circumstances have changed, Reyes replied grimly. Our long-range sensors have detected Draxian scout ships at the edge of your system. They're testing your defenses, looking for weaknesses in your sensor grid. Nyx's antennae twitched with alarm. Our perimeter sensors detected nothing. Draxian stealth technology has improved, Rodriguez explained. They've adapted to the setback we dealt them faster than anticipated. Vela studied the humans carefully before turning to the council. It seems our timeline has been compressed. We must decide now whether to form this alliance. The debate was fierce but brief. When the vote came, It was 8-4 in favor of alliance, not the unanimous decision Vela had hoped for, but sufficient. Very well, the Prime Minister declared. Let us formalize terms immediately. Within hours, the grand concourse of Lumina's capital was transformed into a staging area. Human engineers worked alongside Vesperi technicians, integrating their defensive systems. The speed of implementation was remarkable. Prefabricated modules from the human ship were transported down and connected to Vesperi power grids with minimal modification. Nix observed the operation from a nearby tower, joined unexpectedly by Science Officer Park from the human delegation. Your people adapt quickly, Park remarked. Most species struggle with integrating our technology. Necessity drives innovation, Nix replied. But I'm more impressed by how seamlessly your systems interface with ours, almost as if they were designed with compatibility in mind. Park smiled. That's exactly right. Humanity learned early in our space exploration that technological compatibility could mean the difference between alliance and isolation. Our systems are designed to be modular and adaptable to virtually any energy configuration or control interface. Convenient, Nix noted, not entirely keeping the suspicion from her voice. Deliberate, Park corrected gently. Captain Reyes often says that humans survived because we're good at making friends and better at anticipating trouble. Before Nix could respond, her communication device chimed urgently. Perimeter alert. Multiple signatures detected entering the system. Draxian configurations confirmed. Park's expression hardened. Sooner than we expected. They must have had forward elements already positioned. Within minutes, both of them had joined the Unified Command Center, where Captain Reyes and Defense Minister Castor were already coordinating response efforts. The holographic display showed 27 Draxian vessels approaching in attack formation. They're bypassing the outer defense grid entirely, Castor observed with dismay. They've mapped its blind spots during their stealth reconnaissance, Reyes explained. Standard Draxian tactic. She turned to a human operator. Deploy countermeasure package Alpha through our satellite network. The operator nodded, fingers dancing across an interface. Moments later, the display showed hundreds of small objects dispersing from recently installed platforms in Lumina's orbit. What are those? Nix demanded. Quantum distortion emitters, Park explained. They'll confuse the Draxian sensors, making precise targeting nearly impossible. But they'll still attack, Castor pointed out. Yes, Reyes acknowledged, but with decreased effectiveness. We need to buy time for the next phase. Which is? Vela asked, having just entered the command center. Reyes gestured to Ambassador Rodriguez, who activated a separate display showing detailed schematics of the approaching Draxian vessels. Our previous countermeasure attacked their neural network directly, Rodriguez explained. They've adapted by compartmentalizing multiple smaller networks instead of one central system, but they still rely on quantum entanglement for coordination between ships. We've developed a targeted EMP weapon that can disrupt those connections, Park continued, but it needs to be deployed from within their formation for maximum effectiveness. Nix immediately understood the implications. You're proposing the suicide mission. Not suicide, Reyes corrected, just extremely high risk. My ship can get close enough if we use your planet's magnetic field to mask our approach. Absolutely not, Vela declared. We will not ask our new allies to sacrifice themselves. With respect, Prime Minister, Reyes said firmly, this is precisely what alliance means. We each contribute what we do best. Your people know this system better than anyone. We need your guidance to navigate the approach. My ship has the technology to deploy the countermeasure. Together, we have a chance. After intense discussion, a plan emerged. 3 Vesperi scout ships would escort the horizon, using their intimate knowledge of Lumina's complex magnetic field to stay hidden until the critical moment. Meanwhile, the newly installed human defensive systems would engage the Draxian vanguard, creating a distraction. As preparations were made, Nix approached Captain Reyes privately. Your plan has merit, but there's a critical flaw. The magnetic interference will affect your ship's systems as much as it hides you from the Draxians. Reyes smiled. That's where you come in, Chief Strategist. I want you on the horizon for this mission. Your spatial awareness and natural sensitivity to electromagnetic fields will give us an edge that technology alone can't provide. Nix was taken aback. How did you know about our electromagnetic sensitivity? We study potential allies thoroughly, Reyes replied. Just as I'm sure you've been studying us. Now will you join us? The mission needs your skills. After a moment's hesitation, Nix nodded. I'll inform the Prime Minister. 2 hours later, the horizon slipped away from Lumina Prime, while the main Draxian force engaged the planet's enhanced defenses. Nix stood on the bridge alongside Captain Reyes, marveling at the efficiency of the human crew despite their limited number of limbs. What they lacked in appendages, they made up for with remarkable technology and seamless teamwork. Approaching the magnetic turbulence zone, the navigator announced. Sensors degrading as expected. Reyes turned to Nix. We're flying blind now. We need your guidance. Nix closed her eyes, extending her antenna fully. The electromagnetic field surrounding Lumina Prime had been mapped into her consciousness since childhood. A natural connection all Vesperi developed but few mastered. She sensed the subtle shifts and currents, the places where the field strengthened and weakened. 20 degrees port, descend 5 kilometers, she instructed. There's a current there that will carry us toward the Draxian rear flank. For the next 30 minutes, Nix guided the ship through invisible pathways in Lumina's magnetic field. Occasionally, the ship would shudder as they passed through areas of intense electromagnetic activity, but the humans had prepared for this, with redundant systems taking over when primary ones failed. Draxian formation ahead. Security Chief Okafor reported, checking passive sensors. They haven't detected us yet. Perfect position, Reyes confirmed. Prepare the quantum disruptor. Nix, we'll need to drop our electromagnetic shielding to deploy it effectively. When we do, they'll detect us immediately. How long do you need? 30 seconds to full deployment. Nix calculated rapidly. They'll have weapons locked on us in 20. Then we'll just have to be quick, Reyes said with a grim smile. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Deploy on my mark. The moment the disruptor began deployment, alarms blared as the Draxian ships detected their presence. The nearest vessels broke formation, turning to engage this unexpected threat. Evasive action. Reyes ordered as the first energy blast streaked past them. The horizon moved with surprising agility, dodging the initial assault, but a glancing hit sent the ship spinning. Nix grabbed a console to steady herself, wings flaring instinctively. Disruptor at 60%, Park reported, fingers flying across controls despite the ship's violent movements. We need another 15 seconds. We don't have 15 seconds, Okafor countered as the tactical display showed 3 Draxian destroyers converging on their position. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a squadron of Vesperi fighters appeared, engaging the Draxian ships from behind. Reinforcements? Reyes asked, surprised. Nix recognized the lead fighter's signature. That's Defense Minister Castor's personal squadron. He must have followed us. The distraction provided the precious seconds needed. Disruptor at full power, Park announced. Deploying now. A pulse of energy erupted from the horizon, expanding outward in a sphere of shimmering light. As it washed over the Draxian fleet, their precise formation immediately fell into disarray. Ships began firing erratically, some colliding with each other as their coordination collapsed. It's working, Park exclaimed. Their quantum entanglement network is destabilizing. But the victory was short-lived. The horizon had taken heavy damage, and secondary explosions rocked the vessel. Engine core breach imminent, the navigator reported. We need to evacuate. All hands to escape pods, Reyes ordered. Set course for Lumina Prime. As the crew abandoned ship, Nix found herself in an escape pod with Reyes and Park. Through the viewport, they watched as the horizon, now a flaming hulk, drifted into the heart of the disorganized Draxian fleet before detonating in a blinding flash. The explosion, combined with the quantum disruption, created a cascading effect throughout the Draxian fleet. Ship after ship lost power or suffered catastrophic systems failures. Those that retained functionality began a disorganized retreat. Hours later, back on Lumina Prime, the combined human Vesperi forces confirmed what seemed impossible: total victory. The Draxian offensive had been repelled, with over 70% of their fleet destroyed or disabled. In the Grand Council Hall, a somber ceremony honored those lost in the battle: 13 Vesperi pilots and 7 human crew members from the Horizon. Captain Rice, her arm in a sling from injuries sustained during evacuation, stood alongside Prime Minister Vela. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for both our peoples," Vela declared to the assembled crowd. "The Draxian threat has been neutralized, not through the might of the Vesperi alone, nor through human technology alone, but through alliance, through the recognition that different species with different strengths can achieve together what neither could accomplish separately." Even Defense Minister Castor, once the most vocal skeptic of human intentions, now stood in support. His timely intervention had helped save the mission, earning him newfound respect from the human delegation. After the formal ceremonies, Nix found Reyes on a balcony overlooking the capital city, where reconstruction had already begun. "Your ship," Nix said quietly. "The loss is significant." Reyes smiled. The Horizon was just a vessel. Its crew, most of them, survived, and that's what matters. Besides, we have more ships. The Earth Council has already dispatched a diplomatic fleet with additional resources for Lumina Prime. More humans are coming. "If you'll have us," Reyes replied. "This region of space has potential for both our species." The Draxians controlled vast territories that now lie unclaimed. Together, we could establish something better than an empire. A true interspecies alliance based on mutual respect and cooperation. Nix considered this carefully. There will be challenges, cultural differences, misunderstandings. Of course, Reyes agreed. But consider what we've already accomplished in the short time we've known each other. Imagine what might be possible with years of collaboration. As they spoke, the first stars became visible in luminous sky. Among them, Nix could see the lights of the approaching human diplomatic fleet, not as invaders, but as allies and perhaps, someday, friends. "The Council has approved a permanent human embassy on Lumina Prime," Nix informed her. "And they've authorized an exchange program. Vesperi scientists to visit Earth, human specialists to train here." "A good start," Reyes said, clearly pleased. What changed the Council's mind? They seemed quite divided initially. Nix's antennae twitched in the Vesperi equivalent of a smile. "Your actions spoke louder than any words could. When you and your crew risked everything to protect our world, a world not your own, you demonstrated something we had forgotten during centuries of Draxian occupation." "And what's that?" "That true strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. The Draxians conquered because they believed in their superiority. They fell because they couldn't comprehend working together as equals." Reyes nodded thoughtfully. "Humanity learned that lesson the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we understood it. In the days that followed, the foundations of the new alliance were laid. Human engineers worked with Vesperi architects to design structures that would accommodate both species. Scientists collaborated on research projects combining Vesperi biotechnology with human adaptive systems. Military leaders developed joint defense protocols to protect their shared interests. 6 months after the decisive battle, Lumina Prime had transformed. The crystalline spires now incorporated human-inspired technology, creating a harmonious blend of natural beauty and functional innovation. Where once Vesperi flew alone through their cities, now human transport systems allowed the wingless visitors to travel alongside their hosts. On the anniversary of the Draxian defeat, a new monument was unveiled in the central plaza, a sculpture depicting a Vesperi and a human standing side by side, facing outward toward the stars. At its base, an inscription read in both languages. Different in form, united in purpose. Together we shape a future greater than either could imagine alone. As chief strategist, Nyx stood beside Captain Reyes at the dedication ceremony. She reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The victory they had celebrated a year ago had seemed so complete, yet it had been only the beginning of a greater journey. "What are you thinking?" Reyes asked, noticing her contemplative expression. "I'm thinking about perspective," Nyx replied. "A year ago, we thought the arrival of humans meant the end of our independence. We couldn't see that it was actually the beginning of something far more significant." Reyes smiled. "That's the human factor, as my people call it. We have a talent for disrupting the status quo, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. In our case, decidedly for better," Nyx acknowledged. "The Draxians are retreating from all fronts. Multiple worlds have joined our alliance, and both our species are thriving." Above them, the night sky of Lumina Prime shimmered with stars, each one potentially harboring worlds yet to be discovered, challenges yet to be faced. But now, neither species would face them alone. The victory celebration that had been interrupted by the humans' arrival a year ago had resumed, not as a conclusion, but as a beginning. The music and lights of Lumina blended with human songs and traditions, creating something entirely new. As Nyx watched her people and their human allies celebrating together, she finally understood what Captain Reyes had meant when she first described humanity's greatest strength. It wasn't their technology or their strategies, impressive though those were. It was their adaptability. Their ability to encounter the unknown and not just survive it, but transform it into opportunity, to take what seemed like an ending and turn it into a beginning. The Vesperi had celebrated victory when the Draxians retreated, believing their story had reached its conclusion. Then humans arrived and changed everything, showing them that victory wasn't an endpoint, but a doorway to possibilities they had never imagined. And somewhere in the vastness of space, other species waited to be discovered, other alliances to be formed. The story wasn't ending. It was just beginning.